Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's little interview. Today, I am super excited to be talking to Jodi, who is a published author and kids mental health therapist and founder of Worley's World CIC. So, Jodi, thank you so much for giving us your time today, and super looking forward to getting into this. So,
thank you for having me.
What is your passion and why? Let's just jump straight in there.
So passion is kids' mental health. Basically, it could be a long story, we could be here for hours, but as an adult, I have suffered a lot with my mental health. And I do believe it's down to a lot of childhood traumas and not having the education when I was younger or the emotional support to actually be able to sort of regulate my own emotions and understand them. So as an adult having those breakdowns, I strongly believe if I had that prevention sort of education early on, I wouldn't have suffered quite as much as what I have. I've worked with kids right from when I was 16. I used to run kids clubs, things like that, to then becoming a primary school teacher, and the kids' well-being and happiness and that kind of growth mindset, resilience has always been like the ethos of everything that I've done. And then becoming a mum during lockdown and watching my first little girl grow up, it was like, right, okay, no, she needs to have some form of emotional education. So then when she hits later on in life, she's not going to suffer how I did. And then it's just sort of driven this whole thing of like, I don't want to just reach my daughter. Like there's so many other families out there that could really benefit this. Teachers, because I've been there, we don't have the tools. There's not enough time to learn the tools to learn all these different things to support mental health and emotional education. So because it's my passion, I've sort of trained in different therapies as I've had therapy myself, and then sort of brought teaching and therapies together to create like Worley's World, which offers the context for kids to learn about their mental health, but it gives parents and educators a voice so they have a context to talk about mental health as well. So it sort of takes away that feeling of overwhelm. But the main passion is just, it's the prevention is cheaper than the cure. And I strongly believe if we get kids younger, then actually these adult issues will hopefully start to drop because they've got the tools to deal with these big sort of challenging situations.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. The challenges that we are seeing across the board now with mental health challenges. And I think if you speak to most people and they will answer you honestly, I don't think any of us have really been given the tools to survive in this world that we now find ourselves.
No, definitely not. And it is that whole thing about the change of the narrative now, that it's something we need to be able to talk about. And actually, if we talk to our kids from a young age and we're open about our own mental health with them and our own emotions, then actually as teenagers, we're going to be the ones that they want to come to. So it's like, if we tackle the problem earlier, don't get me wrong, if I could help absolutely everyone, I would. But my passion lies because of my daughter and watching her grow with actually getting them early. So then it helps sort of later on and helping the next generation. So hopefully we do change the narrative that actually mental health is just as important as our physical health.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And I'm so going to be signing my kids up to this and a copy of the book for sure. It's tricky, isn't it? Because we've learned our own coping mechanisms and we do what we can, but you do learn from those around you. So I think building this critical mass of young people that can do this sounds great. So tell me then, how does your organisation respond to this issue? You've mentioned Worley's World. What is it? What do you offer? What is it that you do?
So basically, it's kind of the similar sort of concept to Inside Out, but I've developed it so there's so much more than just like a film. So inside our brain, so one of my characters is Brian the Brain, and that's obviously inside all of us, we have our brain. And it's this whole idea that we all have our own superpower, but we don't know how to unleash it unless we're taught how to unleash it. So within our brains is Worley's World, which is where all these emotion monsters live. So it provides that context of Worley is the main monster and he tells the stories so here he is.
Perfect.
So he tells the stories and then his friends help him with the emotions. So it's like Worley is us feeling all these different emotions, and then inside our head we have the different characters that help us to sort of regulate, because actually, like, for example, I've got George, the angry monster, and we're allowed to feel angry. And sometimes it's that this is the whole idea of changing the narrative, that previously we've been told we shouldn't be angry and we need to calm down. And actually, no, there's a reason our brain gets angry, and it's about understanding, recognizing when we're getting angry, understanding why we have, but then what to do with it. And that's what, like, the whole sort of world is about. It's like the validation of our feelings, but then understanding what comes with them. So it's teaching, like, it's, the books are like a starting point because they talk about different emotions, but then it goes into activities that you can have in your house. So you learn through play. So obviously I spoke about my daughter. So I've had her like playing with these activities that I've just started generating, obviously from a teaching background as well. But it's that she recognizes these characters as well. So it's that it provides a whole world by which we can talk about mental health, instead of just saying, oh, I can see you're angry. You can say, oh, you look like you're starting to get a little bit angry. Are you feeling like George? And then straight away, like with Luna, she'd be like, yeah, I'm angry like George. And then she'd like stamp her feet or something, which is what he does in the book. And then I'm like, right, so but what does George do? Oh, well, he lies on the floor. And like one of the illustrations within the book is George lying on the floor. So because she was only 3, she didn't quite get like the bigger technique that's used within the book, but she could already say, oh, well, it lies on the floor. So as a 3-year-old, I was able to get her to recognize when she was angry, and then we'd lie on the floor together. So it's this whole sort of concept of a world where they become part of us, because technically they are, because they're all in our heads. But it's that idea of, if we don't talk to kids directly and say, right, we're going to sit down and talk about our feelings, it actually needs to be part of life. And it's not just, oh, it's a mental health lesson today. It's these little things that we do should be part of your daily routine for it to then just overall have this positive impact on your mental health. But if we don't know about it, then we can't do it. And it's that way of Worley's world is there. Here you go, parents, schools, this is what we can sort of be doing, kind of thing. Because I know as a mum, when I first obviously had Luna, I was like, what do you do? Like, how do you parent? We're not told. So it's my way of sort of trying to give back and be like, right, I have done my time teaching, but actually this is my passion. And if I create it all together, then I can offer it out to get to as many kids and families as possible, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So in terms of the product and service then that you have to achieve this work, you've got your book. Can people just buy that online? Can they get
so I've got a whole website. So the books, there's currently 3 books. The first one is about confidence and growth mindset. The second is about anger. And then the third one is about jealousy, because I then had second baby, and obviously we then have jealousy with siblings. So that's where that sort of story came from. And I'm currently writing book 4, which is to help deal with grief as well. So fingers crossed we can get that one rolled out as well. But so we have the books which sort of deliver the characters so you can kind of get to know them. But then I'm running like an online membership for parents that then you would just pay a monthly subscription, and it's got lots of different areas where you can go in. You can let your kids watch a video, and there's a video, for example, of me singing an affirmation song. And it's one of those things, if you sing yourself affirmations, you're going to make yourself feel better. So it's that way. It's really uplifting. I've done that in schools with kids as well. And yes, it can be quite annoying if you keep singing it, but still, it works. So it's got videos on. It's got downloadable workbooks and activities. It's got things like there's one that's linked to Play-Doh. So you just download, print off the activity, and then away you go. So it's things that are within the home. So it's not like you download the subscription, but then you're going to have to pay tons of money for everything else. It's just resources, they're ready for you, and you can pick them in whatever order. There's no special way of doing it, sort of thing. It's however you want to do it. And the aim is to then, with the CIC, build onto that a school sort of project as well. So we have the consistency between a school and home, because the kids will be learning about Worley at school, parents will know about Worley at home, and it just makes like there's a lot more cooperation between the schools, and we're all singing from the same sort of hymn sheet.
Perfect.
So the school idea would be like again, just an online resource for teachers, so they know, right, in reception you can work on self-confidence, and here's the book that goes with it and some ideas of what activities you can put out in your classroom, and just sort of build this whole community where actually we all sort of talk in the same way. We're all open, and we can talk in a way that actually we don't feel like we're being judged, because it just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And especially these characters, because the way that I've drawn them, they're brightly coloured, they're very easy to draw. So like kids from a young age just start, like I've had kids as young as like 4 send me pictures, and they actually look like the characters.
Oh, amazing.
So it's nice that they're not struggling and being like, I can't even draw them, do you know? It's just, they're very relatable. And I think that's what helps as well, because the stories and the things that they do link very much to what a
Okay, so that sounds absolutely amazing. And in terms of then getting this out there, I understand where you're trying to get to. I understand the problem. I understand the product and service that you've got available. Where's your income coming from to make all of this happen?
So at the moment, I have done sort of obviously private things myself, because this started before, and like I'd said to you before we started the interview, I was doing this just by myself on the side of teaching. I was doing one-to-one counselling sessions, and like it was, parents were sort of paying for it out their own pocket. As a child, when I was a child, I would not have been able to access that. So that's where sort of yourself and Junction Point kind of came in, because it was that way of, well, actually, I'm not going to be able to reach that many people. And a lot of the people I need to reach are within these deprived areas where parents are struggling, so they don't know how to help their kids. So coming along to like the Junction Point in the business with purpose was then how I learned about how we can open up sort of the CIC sort of area. And because schools have a certain amount of funding for things like this, the idea would be to get like, say, half the funds from the school and half the funds from a grant of some form that we can kind of find. And especially because it is to do with mental health, and it's not only helping children, it's also sort of helping parents, then actually the money would sort of come together. Like obviously there's book sales, and I'll still do private events and things like that. But the majority, I'm hoping it can be like myself working with other charities who they have the families, but I have the course and a venue, but I don't yet have the families that could benefit from it. So it maybe be working with another charity, and we both work together to put in for a grant together sort of thing. And that kind of idea, because I didn't know anything about that this was possible. So I was just always sitting at home like, how do I reach more people? I'm just one person. So obviously with the Junction Point, and even that initial interview with Sandra was just like mind-blowing of, no, there's another way you can do this. You can actually reach like hundreds of kids, potentially thousands, not just 10. And then that's where it was like, all right, okay, this is worth pursuing. And then obviously I've come on to the Junction Point course, learn absolutely loads, and I'm still here.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely. I think you've hit the nail there on a couple of points, that you kind of have to make a decision quite early on, don't you, in terms of the impact that you're wanting to have and what that means for you personally as well. Because obviously for you, this is absolutely a passion project, but it's also something that you've switched your career out of for this to then take the place of. So
so I
got to bring in the money too.
I still need to earn the money. So I think it'll be that kind of sense of I will become an employee of my own CIC, and it'll work that way, where obviously to begin with I'll not take much of an income, but then later on down the line, hopefully we'll get enough that we're reaching so many schools that it does provide. Because I've got 2 kids, I need to get a house and all this sort of stuff. So it still does obviously need to generate the money. I'm passionate about the kids, but I've also got to live at the same time. And this just seemed like the best way to be able to meet both of those things and not have to compromise.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess people that are listening to this might think that this sounds like a perfectly straight line, that you've identified what you're really good at, you've identified what the world needs, you've got your career in this background, you've got the background from working with children in schools and that kind of stuff. So it's so obvious that these things are just going to naturally progress and succeed. Is it as beautiful and simple as that, or has it been a little bit more
Definitely not. Definitely not. It's been one of especially to begin with, it was like a glorified hobby, and it was like writing books, publishing books, illustrating books. I'm lucky I illustrate myself. If I didn't illustrate myself, writing and publishing a book would cost an absolute fortune. The books I do not make money from. Like, it is not a form of income, because I have to sort of sell hundreds before I've even made the money back for even the time writing it, the illustrating, and getting it edited, published, and all that sort of jazz. So even that as a journey to begin with was quite like, it was eye-opening to think, all right, okay, this is not where the money is. The money is then, it's like opening up the doors to the opportunities. But again, like, I'm known in schools where I was before, and it wasn't that easy to just walk in. Like, a lot of, because I've now obviously recently moved down to the northeast, it's been the word of mouth and people sort of saying, oh, I know Jodi, how about bringing a sort of into the school sort of thing. So it's not like I have got like a list of schools already lined up. I'm still needing that kind of help. Like, I'm needing to know where I can go to meet the right people, to get these connections of people that would say, oh, actually, I work in a school. That would be something really worthwhile. I'll go and speak to my head teacher. Have you got something? And it's that, like, I've got these ideas and I create them and everything like that, and I have so much fun delivering them, but I'm only one person. Like, I don't have the business savvy. I've not got any business qualifications, anything like that. I don't know what I'm doing, like social media marketing, not got a clue. So it's like trying to find the right people to help support, and obviously yourself being one of them, in that sense of you've got all this knowledge of how to create it and a few connections of who I can start sort of speaking to. So it's just finding the right community to be around, and that's taken years. Like, it definitely isn't just a straight line sort of thing. And I have come across people who have not been as supportive, or they've just thought it couldn't be offered for free and things like that. And it's very hard to say no when you just want your idea out there. But it's now trying to figure out who is your ideal client, who is the right people to be offering your time to. So I suppose, having moved down here, that would be something that would be quite helpful moving forward, would be knowing like what network events I need to be going to, where do I need to be speaking and getting this idea out in front of people. Like, do I need to be going to certain parent groups, or that kind of thing, just to see like which parents would be able to afford the monthly memberships themselves, but then looking at charities that actually they could say, well, we could fund the parent memberships and things like that. So it's just pulling all that together now, of finding where the people are that need to benefit. And because like I said, I am one person. That's, I can just go, oh yeah, there we go, done it. Like, not got a clue.
And I'm going to stop myself because I've got so many ideas I could share with you, because I can see the business potential with this, massively so. And like you say, schools are really strapped for cash, so it's trying to find creative ways of getting that money through that means it's free to that end user. But one thing you touched on there in terms of the community takes us beautifully to our last question, which is, you're talking to a community now. We're hoping that this is growing, so when we have got more people in, we'll invite you back so that we can get some more people hearing your story. But what do you want to ask them? What do you want to absorb from this community? Is there a call to action or something?
It is that whole idea of, just like I said, I've only come down here in January. It was quite turbulent the first few months, and I'm now just starting to get settled as to where I am and how this is all going to move forward. Because obviously, if you move location, it's like, well, where even is the local shop? Like, so it's even if anyone's got any suggestions of, oh, I know a charity that actually would love to get involved with you, and the family learning courses would be great for these. They could help with the funding side of it, because I do have a venue in Blythe that I can use. So if people are struggling because they don't have a venue, but they've got the funding, like, there is obviously ways about it, but it's just any advice on the connections and the opening up the doors, because, like, again, it's me and my idea, but I'm in a totally new world. Like, I don't know what opportunities are here and how to even begin to get into them. So if anybody wants to connect, wants to learn obviously more about what I do, or has ideas, I'm open to everything.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I'm going to finish us there, Jodi, but I'm going to ask you one last question on the cuff, which is, what would your biggest piece of advice be to someone else that is starting to embark upon this journey of turning their purpose, their passion into hopefully their income streams?
100% they need to go on the business with purpose, because I think that whole thing, it's just, even sessions, and I can never pronounce it, that whole ikigai thing, where you talk about your passion, what you're good at, but then how it can actually all come together. It's pulling everything, because like we said before this, the amount of tabs we all have open in our head, but it's knowing, but which one do I need to actually start with? And it just gives you that focus of, right, you don't need to do everything at once, because I'm terrible. Like, I have ADHD and I just literally want everything to have happened yesterday. But it's allowed me that, right, well, this is week one, this is what you're focusing on. And especially then with the follow-up, like, Ruth will sort of speak to me on our sort of catch-ups, and she'll be like, but this is what you're doing next week. That is not a next week job. That's not a next month job. That can be further down the line. And it's having that sort of the accountability and other people to be able to say, it's a fab idea, but slow down and focus on what you're doing. And I think the whole Junction Point business with purpose, this whole sort of plan, has helped me sort of see that actually I don't need to be a million miles ahead to get it somewhere. We just have to start. I don't have to have everything figured out by the time we even start running something. I can just have that one thing figured out. That kind of thing of, don't think that you need to have all your ducks in a row, because mine certainly aren't, because one of them is a pigeon.
I've just written that down. I think that's going to be the quote to go with this. And don't have to have everything figured out. Just start. I love that.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, Jodi. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to drop your links in there, so people, please do connect with Jodi. And if you've got any questions for Jodi, then please ping them in the comments. It'd be great if we could start to see a little bit of action in amongst all of this this content. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today's chat. If you'd like to be featured on the next series, please email hello@junctionpoint.co.uk. Speak to you soon.